Every year, thousands of Americans lose their lives to heart failure, and many of them had no idea their legs and feet were sounding the alarm long before the crisis hit. Swollen ankles, cold feet, or strange changes in skin color often get brushed off as aging or fatigue, but in reality, they can be your body's desperate attempt to warn you that your heart is failing. I'm Dr. Johnny, and here's the truth. Congestive heart failure rarely begins with dramatic chest pain. Instead, it sneaks in quietly, whispering through symptoms that most people ignore until it's too late. That swelling you blame on your shoes, the tingling you chalk up to sitting too long, those may not be harmless at all. In this video, I'll reveal 11 scientifically proven symptoms that show up in your legs and feet when heart failure begins. I'll explain why they happen, how to tell them apart from everyday issues, and most importantly, what they mean for your future health. So stay with me, because the signs you've been dismissing might just be the very warnings that could save your life. One of the very first red flags your body gives you when the heart begins to fail is swollen ankles. At first, it seems harmless. You might think it's just your shoes, or that you've been on your feet too long. But here's the truth: when your heart weakens, blood can't circulate properly, and gravity pulls that extra fluid straight down into your ankles. Suddenly, they're not just tired, they're ballooning. I once had a patient who thought her ankles were swelling because of summer heat. She put off going to the doctor until she couldn't slip her feet into her favorite sandals anymore. By then, her heart was already struggling to keep up. That's why doctors warn swollen ankles are not cosmetic. They're a clinical sign. Research published in JACC Heart Failure confirms that bilateral ankle swelling, meaning it appears in both ankles, is one of the most reliable predictors of heart failure progression. And here's the part. Most people miss it. Usually gets worse by the evening. When you've been upright all day and your socks may leave deep marks on your skin, if you've ever noticed that, it's not just annoying. It's your body telling you something urgent. But only recognizing swelling is not enough, because there's another factor that reveals the heart's condition even more clearly, one you can see with your own eyes, and even feel with your fingertips. And that's what we'll uncover next. If ankle swelling is your body's first cry for help, pitting edema is the undeniable proof that something deeper is wrong. This is when you press your finger into the swollen skin for just a few seconds and, instead of bouncing back, the dent stays there like a fingerprint left behind. That lasting indentation is your body's way of saying your circulation is in serious trouble. I remember a man in his early 60s who came into my clinic, laughing as he showed me how his ankles could hold the shape of his thumbprint. He thought it was just a party trick. What he didn't realize is that this so-called trick was actually his heart failing to pump blood back effectively from his body. By the time we ran his tests, his right heart was already under heavy strain. Medical research published in the American Heart Journal directly links pitting edema to right-sided heart failure. It's not just water weight, it's a visible sign of backed up blood creating pressure in your veins, forcing fluid into your tissues. And here's the frightening part: it doesn't just stay in your ankles. As the condition worsens, the swelling creeps upward, reaching your calves, your knees, and in severe cases, even your thighs. But spotting this indentation isn't the end of the story, because circulation problems don't just change the way your legs look. They also change the way your feet feel. And when your feet start to turn cold, the danger grows even closer. When swelling turns into pitting edema, the next warning sign is even harder to ignore: feet that stay cold no matter what you do. You can wear thick socks, sit by the heater, or move around the room, but your toes still feel like ice. Why? Because when your heart can't pump enough blood, your body makes a brutal choice. It diverts blood to your brain, lungs, and kidneys, while your feet are quietly pushed to the bottom of the priority list. I once had a patient who told me, "Doc, my wife keeps yelling at me for putting my freezing feet on her in bed." He laughed about it, but underneath that humor was something serious. His heart wasn't delivering enough warm, oxygen-rich blood to his extremities. What felt like a harmless quirk at home was actually a red flag for reduced cardiac output. Studies published in Circulation confirm this exact phenomenon. Patients with weak pumping ability consistently report cold extremities, and doctors now recognize it as one of the most common symptoms of advanced heart failure. The farther the blood has to travel, the worse it gets, which is why the feet suffer before the hands. And unlike normal cold feet that warm up when you walk, heart failure coldness stays sometimes with a pale or dusky color that makes it clear something is wrong. But circulation issues don't just make your feet cold. They can also change the very color of your legs, painting them with a bluish or purplish hue that reveals just how little oxygen your tissues are getting. And that's the next sign you need to know. Cold feet are troubling enough, but when the skin on your legs starts to look bluish, purplish, or even dusky, that's your body raising the stakes. This discoloration, what doctors call cyanosis, happens when oxygen-poor blood begins to dominate your circulation. In simple terms, your heart isn't pushing out enough oxygenated blood, so your tissues are left starving for air. I once met a woman who told me her granddaughter asked why her legs looked like they were bruised all over. What the child noticed was cyanosis, a visible clue that blood was moving so slowly through her vessels that her skin was literally changing color. She thought it was just poor circulation from age, but in reality, it was her heart whispering that it couldn't keep up. Research published in ESC Heart Failure highlights cyanosis as one of the most critical peripheral signs of congestive heart failure. It usually shows up first in the lowest parts of your body, your ankles, your feet, your lower legs, because gravity keeps blood pooling there. And here's the danger: the darker or more widespread the color becomes, the more severe the underlying oxygen shortage. But the story doesn't end with color alone. As blood backs up and pressure builds, it doesn't just tint the skin, it also strains the delicate valves in your veins. That's when another sign appears, one that many people shrug off as cosmetic. But in heart failure, it's anything but harmless. When your legs start turning dusky or blue, it's not just about color. That same backup of blood also puts intense strain on the valves inside your veins. Normally, these tiny one-way doors keep blood moving upward toward your heart, but under the pressure of heart failure, they weaken, and what follows is the rapid worsening of varicose veins. I remember a truck driver in his late 50s who came in worried about the thick, twisting veins bulging across his calves. He had chalked them up to years of sitting behind the wheel, but what he didn't realize was that his failing heart had turned an existing problem into a dangerous cycle. The more his veins weakened, the harder it became for blood to return, and the more pressure his heart had to fight against. Research published in Vascular Medicine shows that heart failure accelerates the progression of varicose veins. This isn't just cosmetic, it's functional. As veins stretch and valves collapse, blood pools even more, worsening swelling and making the heart's job nearly impossible. Left unchecked, this cycle pushes patients deeper into circulatory crisis. But the danger doesn't only show when you're awake. For many patients, the pressure and fluid buildup come alive at night, creating a restless, crawling sensation in their legs that makes sleep nearly impossible. And that's the next symptom you need to watch for. As varicose veins worsen under the pressure of a struggling heart, the trouble doesn't stop when the day ends. For many patients, night brings a new torment: restless, crawling, burning sensations in their legs that make sleep nearly impossible. This isn't just insomnia, it's a direct result of how fluid trapped in your legs during the day redistributes when you lie down. I recall a retired teacher who told me, "Doc, the minute I get into bed, my legs feel like they're buzzing with electricity." She wasn't imagining it. As she lay flat, that excess fluid shifted back into her circulation, compressing nerves and triggering those urgent, uncontrollable impulses to move her legs. Science backs this up. A review in Sleep Medicine explains that restless leg syndrome is strongly tied to fluid shifts in heart failure patients. The nerves misfire because circulation is compromised. Oxygen delivery is reduced, and electrolytes fall out of balance. Instead of rest, the night becomes another battlefield for an already overworked heart. But here's where you really need to pay attention. We're only halfway through this list, and the next signs are the ones most people ignore, yet they carry some of the most dangerous consequences. So don't go anywhere, because what happens when you try to walk and your legs cramp or give out may reveal more about your heart than any blood test. If restless legs keep you awake at night, the daytime brings another warning sign: painful cramps or aching in your legs when you walk, a condition doctors call claudication. At first, it feels like your calves simply tire too quickly. But what's really happening is this: your heart can't pump enough oxygen-rich blood to feed your leg muscles. So with every step, those muscles begin to suffocate. One of my patients, a man who loved taking evening walks with his wife, told me he began slowing down until she had to walk ahead without him. He thought he was just out of shape. But when we tested him, his cardiac output was so low that even a few blocks of walking triggered pain. His legs weren't weak, they were starved of oxygen. Research in the Journal of Cardiac Failure confirms this direct link. As heart function declines, patients report cramps, fatigue, and burning pain in the legs during activity that once felt effortless. The body, short on oxygen, switches to emergency mode, anaerobic metabolism, creating lactic acid that burns like fire in the muscles. And here's the frightening truth: leg pain isn't just a nuisance. It's a sign your entire circulatory system is breaking under the pressure. But the damage doesn't stop at the muscle level. When fluid continues to collect, it begins to change the very surface of your skin, stretching it until it looks unnaturally tight and shiny. And that's the next red flag you can actually see. When leg pain warns you from the inside, your skin often begins to show the struggle on the outside. In congestive heart failure, excess fluid doesn't just swell tissues, it transforms the very surface of your skin. It stretches until it looks unusually tight, shiny, and almost translucent, like the skin is being pulled too thin. I'll never forget a woman who told me, "Doc, my legs look like they've been polished, like plastic." She thought it was strange but harmless. Yet what she was really seeing was her skin under pressure from trapped fluid. The tightness made even simple scratches take longer to heal, and her skin tore more easily than before. Research published in Heart and Lung, the Journal of Acute and Critical Care, confirms this hallmark sign. As fluid accumulates, the skin loses its natural elasticity, pores and hair follicles flatten, and the surface reflects light like a mirror. This isn't just cosmetic, it's your body waving a visual red flag that circulation and fluid balance are breaking down. And here's where it gets more alarming once your skin becomes fragile. Even a small cut or blister can struggle to heal. That means the next symptom doesn't just change how your legs look, it directly threatens your ability to recover from wounds that should normally disappear in days. When your skin becomes tight and fragile, the danger rises even higher, because now even the smallest cut or blister can turn into a wound that refuses to heal. In heart failure, your legs and feet receive less oxygen, less nutrition, and less immune support. Wound healing is one of the most energy-hungry processes in the human body, and without strong circulation, that process slows to a crawl. I remember a patient who came in with what looked like a simple shoe blister. Weeks later, it was still open, raw, and painful. She thought she just needed a better pair of sneakers, but the real problem was deeper. Her heart wasn't delivering the oxygen and nutrients her body needed to close the wound. What should have been a minor inconvenience had become a lingering reminder of poor circulation. The science is clear. Research published in JAMA shows that patients with heart failure often suffer delayed wound healing due to chronic tissue hypoxia and reduced immune function. Every stage of the healing cascade, from inflammation to repair to remodeling, requires oxygen-rich blood. And when the pump at the center of your body can't deliver, the process stalls. But wounds aren't the only problem when circulation falters. The same lack of oxygen and swelling that slows healing also compresses nerves, changing not just how your skin looks, but how your feet feel. That's why the next sign often shows up as numbness, tingling, or even shooting pains that make every step feel uncertain. When wounds refuse to heal, it's not just the skin that suffers, your nerves begin to pay the price too. Many people with heart failure report numbness, tingling, or even shooting pains in their feet, as if they're walking on pins and needles. This happens for two reasons. Swelling compresses the tiny nerves that carry sensation, and low oxygen delivery starves the nerves themselves. One man I treated said, "Doc, sometimes my feet feel like they've fallen asleep, but they never wake back up." He had blamed it on age or sitting too long. Yet the truth was more serious fluid from his weak heart was squeezing his nerves, while reduced blood flow left them gasping for oxygen. Research in current heart failure reports highlights how common these neurological symptoms are among patients with congestive heart failure. It's not just discomfort, it's your nervous system crying out under pressure, struggling to function in an oxygen-starved environment. But here's the part that makes this even more dangerous when nerve function weakens. You may not feel the wounds on your feet, which means sores or infections can progress unnoticed. And as all of this damage builds, your body begins to reveal perhaps the most dramatic warning sign of all: sudden, unexplained weight gain in your lower body, caused not by food, but by massive fluid retention. When numbness and tingling steal the feeling from your feet, the next signal your heart sends is impossible to ignore: rapid weight gain that has nothing to do with food. Patients often tell me, "Doc, I don't understand, I haven't changed my diet, but the scale says I've gained 10 pounds in just a week." That sudden jump is not fat, it's fluid, pooling in your lower body because your weakened heart can no longer keep the balance. One woman I treated broke down in tears because none of her clothes fit anymore. She thought she was getting bigger overnight, but the truth was far scarier. Her failing heart was allowing liters of fluid to build up in her legs, ankles, and abdomen. It wasn't extra calories, it was her circulation collapsing under the pressure. Research published in Mayo Clinic Proceedings identifies rapid fluid-related weight gain as one of the most urgent red flags of worsening heart failure. Unlike normal weight fluctuations that happen slowly, this type of gain can appear in days, even hours. And here's the critical part: doctors view it as a sign that the condition is entering a dangerous, decompensated stage that requires immediate medical attention. But don't think of this as the end of the story, because what we've uncovered across all 11 signs is a pattern. Your body's never silent. It speaks through your legs and feet, whispering long before your chest ever cries out. And in the conclusion, I'll show you how recognizing these signals early could be the turning point that saves your life. Your heart has been faithfully working for you since the day you were born, and it deserves your full attention when it begins to struggle. If you recognized any of the symptoms we discussed today, don't brush them off. Talk with your doctor right away. Remember, early action can make all the difference between managing heart failure and facing an emergency. If you found this video helpful, please save it so you can revisit the information later. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for the latest medical insights on protecting your heart and overall health. By staying connected, you'll always have trusted knowledge at your fingertips. Most importantly, never lose hope. With awareness, lifestyle changes, and timely care, many people live fuller and healthier lives even after a diagnosis of heart failure. Take care of your heart today, because every small step you make toward awareness is an investment in a longer, stronger future.